Hello, how are you everybody? My name is Kuber. Welcome to today's broadcast. Let's see who all is here. Oh, let me put my phone on mute because this has a strange way of getting into the middle of the call. Right, first things first, our last broadcast was very scratchy. There was a lot of breakdown in the audio and there was a lot of lag. Today it doesn't look like there is lag, but obviously you know it better, you can see me better, so please let me know if there is any lag in the call, or if at all there is okay, let me start this camera out, or if at all there is any problem with the microphone. So if you can hear me well, that should be good. Let me know how if you can hear me well, everything's fine, so we can then start off with today's broadcast, because today is an interesting one, right? Okay, nothing yet. Nobody's saying nothing. Can you hear me? Can you not hear me? That's perfectly fine. Thank you, Damanpreet. You are a lifesaver. It was okay. Soheb has a very interesting comment. He says there was a big FSW CRS cutoff lag. Yeah, I can laugh on that one as well. But it's good as long as you can hear me. So today's broadcast is about this. Absolutely about this. Today was an express entry draw. Canadian experience class only, program specific draw. The score was 461. Total number of invitations issued today was 4,750. A big draw basically. And let's quickly take a look at the pool breakdown. So today's draw, so as we can see, 4,750 was the draw size. And let me get this out of the place. Okay, 4,750 was the draw size, and as we can see, it basically says the date and time of the round. So we have been saying January 8th. Today is the 8th of January. So this is what happened. A lot of people ask, where is the draw? Where is the draw? Where is the draw? So draw actually happened yesterday. Okay, but they have published it today. Sometimes we don't get that right. A lot of people on the groups, on the Facebook groups, on other groups, they're always asking, did the draw happen? Is the draw going to happen? Draw usually happens early in the morning, anytime between 7 to 11 in the morning. That is when the draw would happen on a draw date. But IRCC can choose to publish it at any point of time. So they can choose to publish it a few hours later. They can choose to publish it later during the day. And as you can see in this particular case, they have published a day later. Okay, so yeah, that's something else which people should understand. The score, as we can see, was 461 for the draw, and the tie-breaking rule applies on the 12th of September 2020, and the time of the tiebreaker is at 20:46:32 UTC, which stands for 8:46 in the evening UTC time, or the Greenwich time, or the Central time, as you want to call it. Now, what is the meaning of a tiebreaker? A lot of people get confused with that, so let me just go through it once so there is no confusion as far as the tie-breaking is concerned. Tie-breaking applies only to those profiles which are at the drawn score. So if your score is at 461, then the tiebreaker applies to you, which basically means, so this is here it means that if you created your profile on the 12th of September after 8:46 UTC, then your profile was not included in this draw. And obviously, if you're CEC Canadian Experience class. So that's what tiebreaker means. And how this works is that IRCC has to decide how many invitations they will be issuing. So they decided today 4,750 invitations is what we will issue. The ranking in the pool, so they will go for the top 4,750 profiles. The 4,750th profile, the time at which that profile was created, the date and the time, that will then define the tie-breaking rule, because any profiles created after that point of time, which would be next in that ranking pool, would not be considered for this particular draw. So that's what tiebreaker means. It applies only to that score. So the drawn score. So in this case, 461. Any profile which is of 461 above, or rather above the score of 461, is not affected by a tiebreaker. So that's what tiebreaker means. And as we had discussed in my last video, when we were talking about the CRS score analysis, which we did a few days back, when the PNP draw happened, and we said the pool breakdown will remain same. So CIC is not going to issue a new pool breakdown. So that's what it is. The pool breakdown is still as of the January of the 4th, which we discussed during our last video as well. And as you can see, what our usual attention is on this figure. Okay, 10,664 profiles are between the score of 461 and 470, and 4,750 ITAs have been issued, which is a big draw. 4,750 is a big draw. So which basically means CIC is continuing with its 5,000 draw. ITAs kind of a draw, which is pretty good, which is heartening. Obviously, it doesn't mean that all the 4,750 profiles have been taken out of this particular section. It obviously also means that there could be some profiles higher also. Obviously, all profiles above the scores of 500 would probably, in most ideal circumstances, would be people who have Canadian education, Canadian work experience. They could also have obviously job offers, but that would primarily be those profiles. And any profiles above the score of 480 would have some connection to Canada. So you could be a federal skilled worker and you have no Canadian work experience, no Canadian education, and still score a maximum of 481. Okay, but other profiles would then need anything more than 481 would then need either a sibling in Canada or a Canadian education, Canadian work experience. You would need those additional points to take your profile more than 481. So there you go. That's pretty much where the profiles have come from. What does it mean for everybody else, and what is this all about? So let's talk about that, right? So give me one moment. Hot coffee is always good when you're doing this kind of sessions, because then it sort of keeps you going, number one. Now, Ashraf is asking, when can we expect a federal skilled worker draw? What will be the cutoff? Expectations for federal skilled worker, Khushbu is asking. Sarina is sending love from Bangladesh. Thank you. Love to you as well. And Zishan is saying good night. I mean, yeah, good night, Zishan. I mean, I hope you're not going off to sleep already. And another question, when it will resume, the FSW draw. FSW, I mean, lag is what somebody else was asking. So yeah, a lot of questions about FSW draw. Okay, Nagia also asking, when will they resume FSW draw? The short answer to all these questions is we don't know. And I'll just come to that in a minute. Okay. Why we do not know is because obviously, I mean, CIC doesn't make their future decisions and their plan public. Yes, there is a strategy and the broad plans obviously are made public. Obviously, as we all know about the immigration plans and basic strategies, which we are all aware of. But round to round number of invitations being issued or what they would plan to do, they obviously do not disclose that. So there is no definitive way of saying that, yes, this is when the federal skilled worker draw will happen, or it will not happen, or what's going to happen. But let me just draw your attention back to something which happened, some media release which was made earlier, and that spoke about Minister Mendicino, right? So Canada's immigration minister, Minister Mendicino, he had earlier made this announcement that they are looking to favor candidates and applicants who have Canadian work experience and candidates who have Canadian education. So they were obviously looking at giving some sort of additional advantage, some additional favor to those candidates, because obviously in this pandemic and this coronavirus and all these things that have happened in this last 1 year, there have been so many hurdles, so many issues, and in a way they are looking to reward is not the correct word here, but they sort of do want to give some advantage to people who are already in Canada, who have contributed to the Canadian economy, to the Canadian workforce, the labor force. So there have been several programs that have come in the recent past where people were rewarded, and that would be the right word there, for having contributed. For example, asylum seekers who are working as health workers or healthcare workers, they were given the chance to apply for permanent residencies. So Canada has been mindful of the contribution that people have made during this difficult time, and have given certain, or rather have created program so that it gives advantage to a lot of people who have been contributing to the Canadian economy. So in the same manner, as the minister had made this announcement some time back, I think a few months back, when all of us were thinking that diplomas would get 15 points extra and masters in Canada would get 30 points extra in addition to what is already being given. So there was a lot of rumors, there were a lot of speculation as to number of points being added extra to your education in Canada and possibly more points being added to Canadian work experience. Well, none of that happened so far. At least none of them has been announced. None of that we are aware of. So that remains as speculation. But as you can see, what has happened is that they have gone back to giving advantage to people who are in Canada, people who have Canadian work experience, to sort of get some advantage in the express entry pool. Now, people say this is unfair, people say this is fine, but different people have different perspectives. Now, depends on which side of the pool you are in, right? So if you're in the Canadian side of the pool, obviously you find this to be a very good decision. If you are not in the Canadian side of pool, you will find this to be an unfair decision. But at the end of the day, whose decision is this, right? This is Canada's decision, and they have the right to choose the profiles that they feel are going to be most beneficial for Canada. So that is the defining decision maker's choice of who they want to pick, right? So that's the first thing. So let's not get into the fair, unfair aspect of it. Now, first things first. So Minister Mendicino made that announcement that they will be giving some additional benefits. So I think, okay, quote unquote, my opinion, that this conducting CEC specific draw is again one way of validating that statement where he said that they will be making additional benefits for these people, because this is an additional benefit, right? I mean, for example, people who got the invitation, who have now received an invite at 461, were they expecting to receive an ITA? Probably not. I mean, it might have looked quite difficult. But last year, when they did do these several CEC draws and lots of people right down to 430s received an invitation, they wouldn't have received an invitation. You know it, I know it. I mean, express entry is not a mystery anymore. It's not a Bermuda Triangle anymore where we keep thinking what's happening. So now that they've gone back to doing it, so we know that they are in some way creating favor and advantage for Canadian profiles, which is in my opinion, I think it's quite fair. There is no reason why advantage should not be given where it is due. So it's happening, and what I think, and a lot of you who are basically asking about federal skilled worker draws and when will that happen, and I'm just trying to pick one. Oh wow. Okay, yeah, there. And as far as this particular question is concerned, when will they resume the federal skilled worker draw? I feel that they will go back to alternating the draws. Okay, that's again my opinion. And the reason why I feel like this is that it took IRCC several 5,000 ITA draws to bring the score to to bring it basically breach the 470 mark. So they had to sort of really issue lots of ITAs of 5,000 draws, 5,000 ITAs each in each draw for the score to sort of come down to this 468 kind of a mark. And so I personally feel that if they let this go, or rather if they put too much of gap or a very long gap between the draws for federal skilled worker, then the scores are going to shoot up again. This time, I think they're going to do what they did towards the latter part of 2020 in terms of the draws. They will probably start alternating the draw. So you've seen the CEC draw. I would assume and hope and expect that the next draw, when it happens, would be a federal skilled worker draw. And from there on, the following draw that happens could again be back to PNP, CEC specific kind of a draw, and then again to federal skilled worker draw kind of a thing. So federal skilled draw would then basically be a once in a month thing. CEC draw would kindly be probably be a once in a month thing. This way, they basically draw a balance between both sections of the pool, and and let the better profiles again get the invitations and come in. So again, quite a fair decision that would be if that happens. And I personally feel that probably would be the way that this would go. But again, let's see. We're all hoping and waiting and expecting the following draws to happen, and as and when they happen, and we'll know much better. Now, What this also does is that because it's a large draw, 4,750, you have to understand when I keep getting excited when I say this 4,750, it's a large draw, and excitement is all on my face, is because it's 2017 was when we saw the lowest ever express entry score, and that was at 413. I can never ever forget the date. 31st of May 2017 was the draw that happened for 413, okay, and the lowest ever. Now, for that score to have touched 413, just before that particular draw, there were several large draws that happened, 3,800, 3,900. Those days, IRCC would not make a round figure kind of a draw. They would choose the score, and they would basically give ITS to everybody at that score. So there was no problem with the there was no tiebreaker rule as such. So 413 was chosen, and all the profiles got their ITS, and it reached that score because of large number of draws happening. But then relatively, to put it in perspective, the number of profiles in the pool was not that large. It was not, there was only 42,000 or 44,000 kind of number in the pool. Comparison to today, what we can see is like, wow, we have 146,495 profiles in the pool, which is large number of people in the pool. And it's just not that. This number keeps getting replenished very, very quickly. So 4,750 ITA is done. So you would expect this 146 to have dropped down to 141 something. But that's not the case. The numbers go up pretty quickly. So you will see, because if you compare the previous pool breakdowns as well, you will see the numbers of profiles are quite high in those as well. And it actually has stayed 140 plus for quite a few draws now. So if you love data and if you love numbers and statistics, it's quite fascinating actually. These numbers tell you so many things. So if you go back and check several past pool breakdowns, you will see that the number has stuck at about 140 plus. Okay, it hasn't gone to 150. It hasn't dropped below 140 as such, but it has stuck to 140 plus, which tells you that the number of people coming into the pool, whether it's the new profiles or you have to also keep in mind, it's not always the new profiles. There are a lot of profiles which are getting expired as well, and they go out, or they get ineligible and they move out. And then unless somebody recreates. And also we have to understand that in this 146, there are a lot of people want to call it fake profiles. I don't want to term them as fake profile, but there are a lot of those profiles which may not actually deserve to be there, but they're there. There will also be some profiles which are duplicate. People don't understand that they should not be creating duplicate profiles, but they are also in this pool. Then you will also have spouse profiles. So both the partners will have profile, right? The husband will have a profile, the wife will have a profile, or common law partners, they both will have a profile, everybody wanting to sort of get an advantage. So this 146,000 profiles does not mean there are 146,000 people in the pool. The number is much less. Obviously, the profiles are much higher. Now, but that tells you that the number of profiles get replenished very, very quickly. And that tells you the whole story about demand and supply. So the supply is limited, which is the number of invitations IRCC will issue in a year, or the quota of the immigration that is there. So that is going to be fixed. That is going to be limited. The demand obviously is increasing, and the number of people who are interested to come to Canada is increasing. Hence, the profiles keep going up, and hence the scores will keep going up, right? So at any point of time, there are always a lot of profiles in the pool with very high scores. So people expecting 450s, etc., in a normal federal skilled worker, it's not looking possible for them at all in such scenario, right? Let's look at some other question. Okay, Karan says thoughts on timelines. Some express entry federal skilled worker applications have not been processed since December. How will IRCC figure out this backlog with renewed lockdowns in Canada? Wow. Okay, good question. Now, last year again, obviously last year, not too far back, about a week back, Minister Mendicino again announced, and not only him, but several other officials of IRCC also in a seminar made this statement that they have been adding the number of staff to clear the backlogs. But that was primarily and mainly the family class applications. Now, As far as the express entry applications are concerned, the federal skilled worker program applications are concerned, the thing is that these, so for example, even if your application was finalized today, can you travel? No, you can't, because the law or the order of council, the regulation regarding the travel information was that only if your visa was issued on or before 18th of March can you come to Canada. So can you travel if your visa is issued today? No, you can't. Yes, some people have taken a chance. They have, because this 18th of March is enforced strictly by the airline officials and the departure airports. If at all you do have a visa and you just jump on the plane and come to Canada, I haven't heard of any instance where a person was declined or rather was asked to return back. So if you have a valid COPR, you have a PR visa, and even if it was issued after the 18th of March, and if you have managed to come to Canada, or rather if you have arrived in Canada, there is a high possibility that you would obviously be processed and you would be accepted and you would land in Canada and arrive. So we know of several cases that's already happened. But generically speaking, or as far as the restrictions and the law is concerned, can you travel to Canada as of right now? No, you can't. So and obviously IRCC at that level, at a broader level, would like to enforce that law which has been created, right? So if you cannot travel right now, what is the point of giving you that PR visa? And if you get that PR visa, you cannot travel, so it will expire. If it expires, then you will write back to IRCC again and ask them for extension. You will have to send your passports back. They will have to then cancel your old COPR, issue you a new one. You'll have to do your re-medicals, blah, blah, blah. And, this goes back and forth. And it basically creates a much bigger workload for the VFS, for you, obviously for IRCC as well. So the better solution would be to hold back on finalizing these applications, because until there is a relaxation in the travel restrictions, there is no point of issuing or rather finalizing applications. Yes, there have been odd applications who still did manage to get their PPRs. What was the purpose or the reason for releasing only very few? Certain visa offices, New Delhi visa office released a few, Sydney Nova Scotia released a few, even CPC Ottawa did release a few, but it was few, and I'm not really sure what was the purpose of releasing them. But a lot of PPRs who were issued were mainly and largely for people who were in the United States, because the restrictions do not really apply to them. So they could, if they get their passports stamped, they would be able to come to Canada. So apart from that, the reason for not doing this at this point of time is quite evident. And until you see relaxation on the travel requirements and restrictions, I don't expect them to start finalizing their applications anytime soon until that happens. So fingers crossed. And yes, of course, the backlogs are there. COVID protocols need to be followed. So basically, if earlier the office size allowed 50 people to work from that office, now with the social distancing protocol, 50 people cannot work from that office. So the number of people cannot operate from that office. Also, owing to the sensitive nature of this process. So basically, it's a lot of private information. There's a lot of security and national security involved in this whole process. A lot of it cannot be done work from home kind of a process. So people will need to be in the office, work from a secure environment, using secured server when they absolutely process your applications or do process checks on your application. So you can expect that, what kind of difficulty IRCC must be facing with this scenario, right? The number of people in the office are less. Not everybody can work from home. Lockdowns and COVID protocols have to be followed. It's a difficult situation. I mean, it's difficult. So once you understand this, you sort of come to terms with understanding that, yes, if it's taking time, it's taking time. And as and when they do start finalizing your applications, you will get yours as well. Until such time, just, use your time into probably gaining some new skills if you can. Learn French if you haven't already, because French as a second language will always help you. Or take up a new hobby, I guess, or meditate, yoga, that also works. Another similar question is about biometrics in India. Okay, same answer. The capacity, the number of people that they can handle has reduced because they're strictly enforcing COVID protocols. COVID protocols are being enforced by the local authorities. So basically in India, it would be by the state authorities, city authorities, central government wise, central authorities. In addition to that, because This is a Canadian process. Canada will also have a say in the kind of protocols that need to be followed in that facility because it is related to Canada and they do not want any negative backlash to come in any which ways. Now, in such a scenario, biometric numbers, or rather the appointments that VFS could issue to people obviously is less, number of people is less. Now, the priority, because we all understand international students, and there are almost more than 600,000 international students in Canada, they have a priority at this point of time because this is month of January. January intake is on. International students need to get to Canada and start studying because a lot is at stake as far as they are concerned. And not only that, it's a multi-billion dollar industry. International students contribute in a huge manner to the Canadian economy. They're extremely important for Canadian economy. There have been several stories of how businesses and individuals have suffered because the students were not able to come to Canada. So obviously, international students have been a priority in terms of getting them back. But because of the backlogs and because of the lockdowns and because of all this that was happening, the applications have not been processed faster. So as of right now, the priority has been for the study permit applications as well as the family class. So the people who applied for spousal sponsorship, family reunification. Those guys have been waiting for a very long time. It's a paper application. Again, COVID protocols does not allow them to sort of process them faster, but they have added more staff. They're doing overtime. In one article that I read, they have added nearly 100 more staff plus added overtime being extended to several officers and staff. So they're trying to process these applications as fast as possible. Again, I covered this in the last video also that VFS claims that they did more than 60,000 appointments just in the month of November, December, and they are trying to add more appointments for the month of January and February. So when do I expect? That is actually a question, and I'm going ranting about what all is happening. But it's better to give you an understanding of what's happening behind the scenes, because once you understand what's happening behind the scenes, then it becomes easier to digest this information, even if it's not very pleasing and even if it's not in your favor, right? So that's what I'm trying to do here. I expect biometrics to start sometime towards the end of the first quarter or probably even the second quarter. And again, a large part of it depends on how many applicants of study permit are still held back and how many have been processed. We will have some more information towards the end of this month, and probably then we will have an idea of which way that is headed. Okay, Karan says, I have become a yoga black belt. I didn't know there was a yoga black belt, but if you have, then that's great because, who is it going to benefit? Only you, right? So that's good. Okay, Anurag says, when do you think the ONP draw will happen? When will it happen? Only post the FSW draw. I have a score of 463. What do you think the chances? 463, I think, are pretty good chances if your NOC is in demand in the ONP. I expect ONP to draw the first blood this month itself. I expect some information from Ontario or some draws to happen within this month itself. I expect most provinces to start. British Columbia is already doing their draws. Saskatchewan did their draws yesterday. I haven't heard from Manitoba yet. But yes, I expect Nova Scotia to do their draw. I expect PEI, Prince Edward Islands, to do their draw. I definitely expect Ontario to do their draws this month, starting this month. Whether it will be an all program or whether it will be a generic draw or will it be a tech draw, we don't know. That is something which we have to see. I think it will be a generic draw because tech draw was done sometime the end of the last year, and that was pretty good. So the thing is, now the last draw that has happened is CEC specific. Now, if Ontario was to do a draw today, would they concentrate only on CEC specific draws, or would they concentrate on all program profiles? That is something which has to be seen. Again, we really can only speculate based on what we have seen in the past. There is absolutely no way to predict what Ontario is going to do. But yes, it is something which we can expect. Patel says, any update on Alberta FSWP? Alberta had announced that they will not be processing any applications from outside for candidates who are outside Alberta. Not only that, they are the province who also reduced their quota by 33% last year. So instead of issuing nearly 6,000 plus ITAs that they should have. They issued only 4,000 ITAs. There is also a bit of backlog in their processing. Almost 2,000 applications were in the pipeline when they ended the year. They may start back at some point of time, but I don't see that happening anytime in the near future, because COVID is continuing to cause havoc even as we speak. So more number of cases, more number of deaths are being reported even as we speak today. The numbers are going up. Ontario is recording highest numbers on a daily basis. So until there is a more of a handle on the situation, I don't see Alberta releasing that at this moment of time. Okay. Rafsan says, as a CEC applicant, 460, can I expect an invitation in the coming months? Well, I would be quite optimistic with that number. And the reason for that is because, I mean, now that IRCC has made it clear that they want to do this draw, but we have to still wait for the next draw to understand which way this is going. If this is going to be an alternating draw, then the scores, even with CEC, are going to remain slightly high. It won't touch 430s like it did last time. But if they do a back-to-back or even if they follow up another draw with the CEC, then yes, of course. But 460 definitely remains a good promise, a good prospect, if at all, of course, CEC draw happens anytime soon. Are CEC inland immigrants considered under the target of landed immigrants once they complete landing? Yes, of course, Vaibhav. A CEC applicant remains a foreign national unless their landing is confirmed or their status is confirmed. So they are not a landed immigrant unless they get a COPR and it has been activated as the permanent resident status. So that's a CEC candidate. So whether you're a CEC candidate, whether you're a federal skilled worker, you will remain a foreign national. A CEC is, if he or she is inland CEC applicant, he or she will be in Canada on a study permit or a postgraduate work permit, open work permit, spouse open work permit, closed work permit. These, or could be even on a visitor status, depending on what they were pre. So a CEC category is a person who has at least 1 year of eligible work experience, Canadian work experience under NOC 0, A or B within the last 3 years. Okay. But their current status obviously is not going to be a permanent resident. So they will be a foreign national, any of these work permits or any of these permits. And only once their status as a permanent resident is confirmed and activated, do they then become a landed immigrant. Okay, Jazz is saying, what about the COPR for inland applicants? Well, inland applicants are following a different process. IRCC has created a new portal, and these inland applicants are being sent an access code for this portal, whereby they will then need to confirm their status, confirm their residential address, and their COPRs are then issued to them electronically, and that is how their COPRs are given. It's a good thing, because in such scenarios, inland applicants don't need to send their passports for visa stamping. They don't need to do flag polling. They don't need to exit entry kind of a thing out of the country, and they become permanent residents when they have confirmed their status. So that's pretty good. Darsh says, don't you think IRCC should do something about fake and duplicate profiles in the pool? Well, yes, they should. But at the end of the day, you see, Canada, something which I absolutely love in Canada is that and that is where the most abuse happens, right? Canada will take you for your face value. So if you say that you are an eligible candidate, they are agreeing with you. I mean, they do not want to have a problem with it. So they put that responsibility on you to be a responsible individual, that you are creating your profile with all the criteria, the way they have mentioned it. Once you do get an ITA, can you proceed? You cannot proceed. Okay, so basically you will waste the ITA. Now, by your wasting the ITA, yes, somebody who could have got the ITA is the one who gets affected. But in the big scheme of things, what happens? All these wasted ITAs go back in the sense in terms of the number. So the current rejection refusal rate hovers or averages between 32% to 34% or 36%. I don't remember exactly, but it's in 30s. And that information is available on the open data on IRCC. So that is the number of refusals, rejections, or the profiles that did not, or declined profiles. IRCC compensates for this number by issuing additional ITAs. So for example, if they issue 3,000 ITAs and all 3,000 were going to accept it, then IRCC will not issue additional ITAs to cover up for anybody who's getting rejected or who's declining the ITA. Okay, so then understanding that there are going to be 170,000 economic immigration applications divided by 2.2, there are going to be roughly let's say 60 to 70,000 applications who are finally going to make it. They will issue only 60 to 70,000 ITAs. That's it. They won't issue more than that, because issuing more than that will means they will go beyond their quota. So if they were to issue only 60 to 70,000 ITAs, can you even imagine what the score is going to be like? I mean, just think about it, right? So, I mean, as much as we all blast this fake profile business, IRCC is aware and they do consider the rejection ratio, refusal ratio, and the decline ratio of ITAs. And considering that, they issue additional number of ITAs, and that is how it is compensated. That is how still they are able to meet their criteria and their quota for the immigration, and that is how it is, worked around. So, as much as a fake profile obviously affects the person who would have got an ITA but did not get because of this person, in the big scheme of things, it keeps the score in balance, and therefore more people get the advantage. So I'm not saying that yes, we should go and create more fake profiles so that the scores go down, because it won't. Eventually it will balance out, and eventually it will sort of still get to where it has to go. Okay. Soptic says bringing parents to Canada is like a gamble, and best someone can do is get them a super visa. Is there any other way? Well, there are 3 ways for a parent to come to Canada. You can bring a parent on a visit visa, you can bring a parent on a super visa, or you can enter the PGP, parent-grandparent lottery. That is the reason why it is called a lottery, right? It is a gamble. I know of some people who for the last several years have been trying and yet failing. And then I know of somebody who tried for the first time, tried it only once, and made their expression of interest when the system opened in November. And voila, they got their invitation yesterday. So it is a gamble, it is a lottery. Unfortunately, it's not fair, of course not. But the fact that 2021 would bring in 30,000 lottery slots, that should still count for something. But yes, until such time, super visa is a good option. Patel says, can I apply for student visa after getting EE profile being refused? Yes, of course. I mean, there is nothing that stops you from applying for a study permit. Nishan says, my age is 35 with 448 CRS, is a 2-year study program with a 3-year PGP a safer bet than a 1-year program with a 1-year PGP? Good question. You are at 448. So if you are to do a 1-year or a 2-year program, the points for education is going to be only 15. Okay. So with 448, you will become 458 plus 5, 463 is the points that you will get. But you will also lose 5 points for age. So your 453 then becomes 463, sorry. 463 then becomes 458. And you think 458 has a chance? No, I mean, it doesn't really look very promising at this point of time, but you never know. Then you will probably work for 1 year and get the Canadian experience points. So that 1-year work experience of Canada would give you 35 points or 40, depending on your marital status. Does that put you in a better slot? Yes, of course it puts you in a better slot. Will you find a job in NOC 0, A or B? That is one question, because finding a job for an international student after they've completed their studies is not the same for everybody. It all depends on your previous experience, your previous skills, what you have done in the past. So would you be able to get a work experience in that particular slot is something which you have to see. Otherwise, 3 years work permit is always a safe bet. The reason for that is that first year you tried, you did not really get something, then what do? So then you change your plan, you change your strategy, you change your province, you go to a province which has a program that allows you to apply for a permanent residency in a much faster manner or in a much more flexible manner. So options are available if you have a 3-year work permit, but not everybody wants to study for 2 years. Of course, it's expensive. Choice is yours. Uh, Talk about OMP Tech Draw. I just did. Maybe you would want to go back and rewind and probably see this again. Srujan says applying as a family 468 meets federal skilled worker. I finished my application on 5th of Jan. Will my profile be considered if the draw is at 468? What are the chances of losing a slot? I don't know. The reason for that is because we do not know what the tiebreaker is going to be and what the score is going to be in the next draw. We do not know how many profiles are going to add into the pool in the next draw. We do not know if it is going to be a FSW draw or if it's going to be a CEC draw. There is too much of unknown, and there is absolutely no way to sort of have any kind of indication. So yes, I would love to say that yes, the next draw would be a federal skilled worker draw and we can expect 467 kind of scores, 466, 467. I'm not really sure about 466, but yeah, 467 is something, or 468 of course. I would be quite happy to put a fiver on, but there is no way to predict that. Salil says, can you please make clear how many points graduate student gets if she is married? I am not sure what exactly you're asking, Salil. What you can do is you can head over to, let me just show you this, CRS grid point, and you will be able to see it yourself. So if you just Google CIC grid point, let me just put this on the screen for you so that you can see. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So that's the grid point. So if you will just Google CIC CRS grid, this is the kind of a page you will get. Here you can check the points that are allotted for different factors, for your age, how much you can get maximum, for your level of education, for your official languages, etc., etc. And then it sort of goes down and breaks it down into absolute macro level, or rather your micro level, and you will be able to see what you get for different additional factors, for different age, how much you will get, whether you are married or unmarried or single or whatever your marital status is, what you get for level of education, you will get your points here. Again, married, unmarried, you will be able to see here. Okay, so I hope that helps you and answers your question. Okay, going forward, will CRS go beyond 468 or below that? I just answered that question. There is no way of saying exactly what CIC is planning. So if there is going to be another CEC draw after this, obviously federal skilled worker or other all program draw, whenever that happens, the score is going to be higher. If they alternate, as we have been talking between CEC and federal skilled worker, then I would expect the next federal skilled worker draws to be within the same range of 467 to 470, to be honest. And the reason why the score may go up a bit, but not too much, is because obviously new profiles are also entering the pool. But what also has happened is that this draw has removed 4,750 profiles which were there in the express entry pool. But the score is 461, so a lot of profiles between 461 and 467 have also been cleared. So it sort of brings a bit of a balance also. So you could expect anywhere between 467 to 470 kind of a draw if the next draw is a federal skilled worker draw. Obviously, the draw size is extremely important. 5,000 is, I love it. I mean, I'm absolutely ecstatic when I see the 5,000 figure in terms of the draw sizes. It's very encouraging, and yeah, I love it. Okay, something we've already taken your question, so I'm not going to do that again. I am at CRS 461, knock 1111. Are there any chances? Well, yes, of course. I think, Hiral, that there are good chances for that knock. It is included as part of the OINP general draw. If at all they do a general draw this month, which I mean, considering that they did one last year, pretty late for tech draw, a general draw was not done. And the earlier general draw that they did was a total waste because everybody who would have got an invitation from Ontario, all of them got an ITA pretty soon after that from the express entry. So I don't think they secured any applications from the general draw. So yeah, I absolutely think it's a good score, and I absolutely think this is something which you can look at. Got that. Okay. Shivam says, appreciate your service much. Thank you, Shivam. Thank you for your appreciation. Appreciate that. How's Sault Ste. Marie to live in Ontario? It's a beautiful place. It's an absolute beautiful place. Obviously, it's a smaller city. I've been there twice. So I love that place. It's very nice. It has a very nice feel to it. As I said, it's a smaller city. You cannot compare it to Toronto. But yeah, I mean, I would say it's a very nice place to be in. Obviously, if you go online, you will find plenty of information more that I can give you. And always remember, a visitor's perspective is different than a resident's perspective. So a person who lives there will have a different perspective from a person who's just visiting. So if I'm visiting, I'm there only for a few days, I will only see the better things of place and move away. So my perspective is going to be much different. You ask me Ontario's perspective, I can give you. I can tell you a lot about that. Okay. Akanksha, I will take one more question after this. I'm hoping for an ITA in today's draw as my score is 461. Congratulations. My PCC will expire by end of this month. Can I submit my documents before Jan, or else do I need to get a new PCC? No, if your PCC is valid, on the date you submit your application, you can absolutely go ahead and submit. You don't need a new PCC. On the date you submit your application, your PCC should be valid. Last question for today. Kunal Joshi says, my wife has a Canadian PR. Can I apply for dual intent visa, which would include tourist visa along with spousal sponsorship application? Now, IRCC clarified earlier that they would entertain dual intent visas from spousal applications who have received approval in principle. Okay, so you would file for a spousal application, you would get your AOR, you would get eligibility as a sponsor met, and then you would get approval in principle. Once you get approval in principle, under the dual intent, you can apply for visit visa. If you want to apply for before that, yes, nothing stops you from doing that, of course. The chances for approval always remain quite less. And the reason for that is because now your ties to Canada are considered stronger because your spouse is in Canada. So your ties to Canada are considered stronger versus your ties to home country. And keep in mind, you are applying for a temporary resident visa. So yes, you have a PR application in process, and they understand your intent is finally to live permanently in Canada. That's why the dual intent comes in place. But you have to understand that you are applying for a temporary resident visa, which means you have to comply with the requirements and regulations of a temporary resident visa, which is important. And that's the reason why the whole thing plays out like that. Okay, Rahul says, please let us know about your premium service. Thank you for asking, Rahul. You are most welcome to check our website, www.askobey.com/services. All the services that we provide are listed. You're most welcome to check that out. We have a team of legal consultants, licensed consultants, who will be happy to process your application and work with you. Why? Okay, last question, because I just said last question and we're still taking on questions. Nishan says, why some ECA body gives 1 year as masters and some not? Very good question, Nishan. Okay, different education bodies or other accredited bodies, the IQAS, the WES, the CES, the ICAS, the University of Toronto, sorry, the University of BC, they all have different arrangements and evaluating parameters. Okay, they all operate independent of each other, so they are not controlled by a global body or a common body for all these agencies. They all have an agreement with IRCC, okay, that they will evaluate the credentials based on their parameters, which has been certified or accredited or accepted by IRCC. Now, each of these agencies operate differently. Okay, WES is in Toronto, IQAS is in Alberta, and then there is a CES is University of Toronto, and so on and so forth. So each of them have a different criteria based on which they will evaluate your education. Some of them may not even accept certain credentials because of, again, their agreement that they have with education institutions or the bodies like AICTE, right? So if they do not, what do I call it? If they do not acknowledge or endorse such agencies or such institutions, then they will not be able to assess or evaluate the criteria issued by or issued by institutions who come under these authorities. So therefore, Unfortunately, that's how it is. Different agencies, or rather different evaluating agencies, have different parameters on how they do assess the documents, and that's how it varies. Unfortunate, but it just keep it in mind. There is always a good and a bad. So the bad is that why does West not consider my education as a master's, and why does IQAS gives it as a master's? The bad is that the West doesn't consider it. Now, the bad would have been worse if none of them would consider it, right? The good is IQAS is still an option, or CES is still an option for you. So that's the good aspect of it. So always look at the good, be positive, be forever hopeful. Oh, no, sorry, yeah, see my forever hopeful board. Did you like it? I love it. Okay, so forever hopeful. That's how I operate. That's how I rock, and that's how all of us should rock. Because the more positive you are, the more positivity comes to you. And that basically has been how it's been rocking for me. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. It has been lovely connecting with you all, and we will do this again and again. By the way, since you're on my channel, please do subscribe to our channel. Please follow me on Instagram, because we do a lot of things on Instagram as well. We do short stories. We post a lot of obviously information updates as well as the process updates. So you should come to our Instagram and follow us there. And we do we do a lot of live over there as well. And obviously don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because the more you support my channel, or rather this channel, it's like an encouragement for me, right? So I see that the number of people who are willing to watch this is higher. So you sort of get more motivated, you get more encouragement, and come and do that more. Not that I need the encouragement, because I will come and still do it anyways, but it's always nice. The numbers are good. Okay. And that's just about it. So what do we got to do here? No, oh, I don't see that here. Well, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.